Hi, this is my child observation project video. So I observed Autumn and Hannah. And for Autumn, I observed her motor and language development. For Hannah, I observed her emotional and cognitive development, the Piaget's stages. For Autumn, and in the bottom right corner of these, I have like what part of the rubric that the slide should be helping with, if that's helpful for grading. So from section 4.3 of the textbook, some things we could expect to see in early development, early childhood. Um, some key indicators are demonstrates reflexes, shows balance, coordination, can run, stop suddenly and turn, can jump, hop, and climb. Those are gross motor skills. Shows some fine motor skills with these things listed, can demonstrate attention, has some memory skills, dexterity, and presents goal-directed behavior. Um, and then from the textbook, 4.3, this is where I got that list of fine motor skill developments. Autumn had these sunglasses, so that's like her little symbol. And some things that I noticed from observing her, she had really good balance that was very mature for her development. She, at one point, was just balancing on the table with just her arms, her legs were dangling. She did a great job with that balance, that gross motor skill. She had really good fine motor skills for her age, very good dexterity. She was rolling dice. She picked up a specific small duck figure out of like a pile of a bunch of them with that pincer grip. Did a great job. She folded her sunglasses, put them on her head, took them off, that kind of stuff. One thing to be worked on that was a little immature was her short-term memory. Her teacher told her how old she was. Her teacher was like, "I'm 23." And they were talking about it. And then another girl comes up, and the teacher was asking that girl how old she thought the teacher was. And Autumn blurted out, like, she's 24. And the teacher was like, no, Autumn, I just told you I'm 23. So that will need to work on her just short-term memory there with specific figures, numbers. She did show goal-directed behavior. She put things in specific bins. That was her goal. She was doing it, and she lined up figures on the table with that activity. Looking to her future development with how that affects this. Her fine motor skills will help with writing and complicated tasks, especially with school as she gets older and goes into elementary school. Her balance could help her develop her motor development with sports like gymnastics if she wants to do something that involves balancing or like horseback riding. Her short-term memory could hurt her relationships and her friendships by not remembering things people tell her, like not remembering their name right after they tell her. And then everything that I was looking for, I felt like she demonstrated, so I felt like she fully captured that developmental stage. Then from section 9.3 of the textbook, we look at her language development and some things we could expect to see. Some key indicators of developmental maturity for this age could be using plurals, adjectives, past tense, can take turns, can understand words like here, yesterday, now, tomorrow, use pronouns, adjust speech to partner, speak differently depending on who she's talking to, might think that objects only have one name, and we'll talk about that in a second. Omit articles like a and the when speaking, overregulation errors and overextension errors, and respond to scaffolding with someone older than her. Also, the hot pink means I'm gonna provide an example of what I saw in a second. So this is that mutual exclusivity assumption when you assume that an object can only be named have one name, can only be called one thing. And that's from section 9.3 of the textbook, that definition, and we'll get to that in a second. So Autumn did a great job with a lot of her language. She used three and green as adjectives to describe things. So that was very good. Although she did pronounce them fui and guin. So her R's will need to be worked on, which as someone who's interested in speech language pathology, I thought that was really interesting and noticeable. Not too uncommon for kids her age. I struggle with that at her age, actually. And I can pronounce it correctly now. So that's something that easily can be worked on, but a little immature for her development right now. But using adjectives was very good. She was understanding time words. Her teacher said that the teacher's birthday was next week, and Autumn totally understood that. She was excited. Autumn said, I want a dog. You're 24. I don't know. Different at different times. So she used pronouns really well. Very, very okay with that. Going back to mutual exclusivity assumption, Autumn struggled with that. Her teacher said, like, oh, I have lipstick in my book bag. And Autumn asked what a book bag was. The teacher said, oh, it's a backpack. And Autumn knew what a backpack was. So she just didn't know that that one object could have two different meanings. So that was mutual exclusivity assumption. Autumn had some overextension skills, overextension struggles. The teacher's playing jingle bells with the dice, like on the table, doing the rhythm. And Autumn was like, she was trying to guess the song, and Autumn goes, it's Christmas. And the teacher's like, yeah, it's a Christmas song, but what's it called? And Autumn said, it's Christmas. But it's called Jingle Bells. And so Autumn didn't realize that different Christmas songs had different names. She thought they were all called Christmas. So that would be overextension. Response to scaffolding, our teacher, at one point, Autumn was a little upset, and which we'll come back to. And her teacher was making connections. She was like, Autumn, what color is your hair? Your hair is blonde. My hair is blonde. Connection. And she did that a few different times. And then Autumn responded to that scaffolding, that structure, that pattern. And she was like, Do you have um do you have a green shirt on or something like that? And her teacher was like, yeah, I do. And then Autumn was like, a connection. It was really cute. But she responded very well to that scaffolding with her teacher. Looking at Autumn's future development for language, her mutual exclusivity assumption will be hard for learning new words. Although I think she was okay with it at the time, but she'll definitely need to work on that as she learns new things in school. The ability to carry on a conversation, she talked with her teacher a lot. That back and forth with that scaffolding was really good. That'll definitely help with friendships with others, being able to connect with them. She was happier after talking to her teacher, so that's how it affected her interaction right then. Um, I didn't see any over regularization errors with her grammar. I just didn't hear it in her conversation. So looking at if she fully captured the developmental stage I read about, I didn't see that. I also wasn't able to hear her conversations with other kids. At one point, I could tell she was talking to a friend, but it was away from the microphone, so I couldn't hear it. So that hurt me trying to see if she fully captured it. Okay, moving on to Miss Hannah. This is from section 10.2 of the textbook, talking about emotional development, and these are some key indicators we should see for this age. They can talk about their emotions in complex ways. They can judge others' emotions. They can infer causes and consequences of others' emotions, like why someone would be upset and then what would help them not be upset anymore. They can regulate their own emotional reactions. They can do pretend play, and that would help them act out feelings and implement self-control. And they can have some strategies for emotional arousal. We'll talk about that in a second. And then they can understand social rules and interactions. So from section 10.2 of the textbook, this is talking about those strategies for emotional arousal and reducing that, limiting sensory things. We saw that with Hannah. Hannah wore these like polka dot pants, so that's her little symbol. But she regulated her emotional arousal. At one point, she was frustrated, and so they had this little egg chair, and she was able to go in and like shut the curtain over it and kind of hide from the world for a second. And she was able, when she came back out, she was happier. When she came back out, she was pretending to be chicken, hatching out of an egg. So that was her pretend play, and she was like, "Cock-a-doodle-doo, I'm a chicken." So very good demonstration of pretend play there, very mature for her development. And her emotional arousal strategy was very mature. A little bit immature, she was not able to judge others' emotions. Like I said, Autumn was upset at one point and standing right next to Hannah and talking about it explicitly with her teacher. And Hannah did not, was not aware. She was like looking across the classroom, not really paying attention. So that will need to be worked on a little bit. That was a little bit immature for our development. And then social interactions, they had a cleanup time after playing, and they had a cleanup song. Everyone's cleaning up. Hannah was not cleaning up, was not aware of that like social rule and interaction. Hannah was playing with blocks at the time, let other kids clean up her own blocks. Did not help at all with those blocks. So that was a little bit immature. Looking to the future, her strategy for emotional arousal will definitely benefit her as she gets older. Maybe if she's in like the workplace and someone's rude to her and she needs to remain professional, needs to regulate that emotion. Very good job with that. Or if she's married, or in a relationship and they get in an argument and she knows I need to take a second to walk away and come back and I'll be better. Okay, her lack of noticing emotions in others will definitely hurt friendships, relationships by not being compassionate or understanding, empathetic. Her not cleaning up will hurt relationships with roommates or a spouse, someone she lives with, if that does not change. That would definitely need some work for that immature development. That would be frustrating to live with if someone never cleaned up after themselves. And then I did not get to hear her talk about her own emotions in a complex way. I would have loved that to be able to see if she fully captured the developmental stages. From 6.3, we talked about cognitive development, and this is the stages. Assimilates new things into schemes. That's like how you interact with the world. If that doesn't work, you can accommodate to create new schemes. Use pre-operational language. Use that. Use your imagination, interact with others. With that, you can do symbolic thought. Egocentrism. I'll have the definitions for this on the next slide. Egocentrism, animism, centration, and then irreversibility. And these are definitions from 6.3, table 6.2, from that textbook. And that is my fourth citation of the textbook. So some things we saw with Hannah's cognitive development is her pre-operational language was awesome. At one point, she touched another kid's blocks and she just explained, I'm building it. So that was really good reasoning. And it also showed that she's not really affected by irreversibility. She's able to understand that if that kid just moved the blocks she put there, it would have been fine. Like she wasn't thinking, oh, it's ruined now. So that was really good. Very mature. She played for a few minutes with another boy. Everyone else was independently playing, and she and this one boy like went back and forth. That was awesome, very mature. She showed symbolic thought. She was building a house and she had a single block. She said, this is a table. Symbolic, awesome, mature. She struggled a lot with egocentrism. The teacher asked Autumn to count to 10 at one point. Hannah did not respect her turn, just counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, didn't know if that, didn't really realize that would affect Autumn. I think it did make her upset, but just blurted it out, didn't take her perspective at all. And then again, she didn't clean up at cleanup time. She did assimilate. She found this like translucent tray that was big and she tried to look through it like a magnifying glass. So I was trying to put it into a pre-existing scheme. This new thing. Looking to her future, and this is the last slide, her pretend play and symbolic thought will help her playing well with others. This could also help her with creative writing in school. Um, as she is just thinking more and reasoning more. Her reasoning to that boy is a good indicator of her future language and reasoning skills. She can be an advocate for herself or for others. That could also help if she wants to go into debate, just with reasoning, being able to speak your mind and say your opinion, just explain yourself. Very good. Egocentrism will need to be worked on. That would hurt future relationships if she doesn't let others take their turn. It kind of interact like her interactions at the time with making Autumn upset. So it affected her there, and it would definitely affect future relationships. To see if she fully captured that developmental stage, I would have liked to have seen her try to decipher something new to show a parent's reality distinction. That just didn't come up in conversation. But I would have liked to have seen if she would have been able to do that. Thank you. That's it.